there. Okay. So what we have here is
right,
the
I've got to look
website.
sideways. Yep. Okay.
So I'm going to put that up in the chat. So this is the Australian version. Now let's bring up the chat thingy here.
You might get some extra ones logging in too. I probably won't see them now, seeing you're the host. So just watch out for that if you can.
And I suggest everybody turn chat on. So if you've got any background comments, whatever, or perhaps even questions, just use the chat to type your question.
I'm trying to work out how to turn the chat on when I'm sharing a screen.
Yeah, bottom.
Oh, there it is up there. Okay.
Yep.
Chat. Okay, I'll bring that up. I've got that on. Yep. Okay.
All right. So here's the web link for the first one. So this is basically the Australian version of the Open Orienteering Map website, which is done by a guy in the UK called Ollie. And he started about 10 years ago, and he's done it basically for Streeto training, and he's very careful in his own presentation to say, oh, I'm not trying to usurp normal Streeto maps. This is purely for training purposes. But from our point of view, if the information in OpenStreetMap, which is what it's based on, is good enough, then the Streeto map will be good enough for Streeto as well. So I think it's making more political statements there, but he's being very careful not to tread on toes in the UK. There isn't the guy joining us from New Zealand or any of the US guys, but if they had, they would have to click on the global. We got someone from New Zealand just joining us now.
Can I just ask if you're not speaking to mute the mic? We're getting a bit of piano music.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so if you're not in the Australia, then you have to click on this global button here, and that takes you to a slightly different version of the same site. Why is it not doing anything?
So, yeah, welcome Wallace, if you can hear. That's his name, Wallace from ZL. Is he in? No, he was there, but he's gone.
He's gone, yeah. Oh, no, he's
oh, there he is, yeah. G'day, Wallace.
If you're not in Australia, then you have to click the global one. Now, basically, that's the same thing, except that the map, which is the Open Orienteering map, which is generated from the OpenStreetMap data, is only done once per year rather than once per day. So that's the disadvantage of using a global button. So basically, based on a conversation a few of us had with Ollie a few weeks ago, he's happy to update the Australia. Well, it actually says Australia/New Zealand. So yeah, that's just changed the last day, I think. So now
no, that was there a couple of days ago. AUNZ was there when I looked at it.
He's in now in the mix. So Australia and New Zealand are covered by daily updates, which means that the OpenStreetMap data once per day is used to create the Open Orienteering map, which we're now about to look at. So we can zoom into Melbourne here. And there it comes. Once you start to zoom into it, we can even go out to where Jack was interested in, which I think is that. Which road was it?
Where are we? It's the Dandenongs, is it?
Too far out there, I think. Sometimes you've got to know what your roads look like to find out.
Yeah, that's what I found the other day. It's got no information on it.
So that's the outer circle, I think. Yeah, there's the outer circle up there. So up here is the Eastern Freeway. So that would be Maroondah Highway there. That would be Burwood Highway. There's Eastlink. And where was your one, Jack? It was.
Oh, that's I can see
up here.
Bellbird Dell. Go down a bit further. Yeah, there. That's it. Down where the pink is.
This bit here or this bit here?
No, down that one there. Yeah, down. Where the pink rectangle is there. That's it there. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see what data is there under, which has come through for the OpenStreetMap data. Now, there's two views which are useful to us. There's also one which deletes railway lines. Now, that's just done in the UK because in some areas of London, there's so many railway lines it confused the map, which Ollie explained in his presentation. So we probably won't have much use for that. So you've got the street overview, which generates what you're looking at here, pretty much a normal street-o map. There's also something which called pseudo, which is his version, not non-compliant, but sort of a semi-sprint map style. So he's tried to use the standard ISO definition colours, and as you can see, there's a little bit more information in the park areas. Someone's put little individual fences here, or property boundaries in this little area. So there's a bit more detail in here, which you normally wouldn't need for Streeto, but could be useful for a parko. Once you've got to this stage, you then decide where the centre of your map is going to be, roughly. So let's say there. And it puts up a boundary to show what your map is now going to contain. Now, I imagine you can then select it to be a portrait boundary instead of a landscape one. And if you want to do a sort of parky detailed area, you might want to do it at 1 at 5,000, rather than 1 in 10,000. So like that. If its centre's not quite where you want it, you just click on that once until it goes light blue, and then you can move it around. And you have to do that each time you move it. So let's go partly park and partly street, so we get a bit of both. Just about there. So that's now defined your map area at 1 in 5,000. The only other thing of interest up here is add plaques. If I click that, it won't find any in the area. I think Peter Doward said there was some in central Melbourne. On the UK version, there's a few other things like post boxes and other things which you can use for control points. So they're basically just ways of adding automatic controls. Jeff discovered that OpenStreetMap has a fair bit of light pole data in it, and so in the future maybe there'll be a new button up there to let you add controls on light poles. But for now, this is what we've got. The contours aren't in here yet. Jeff has sent the contours, I believe, but they haven't quite got into.
We've got 10-metre contours, Bruce, but we want to use 5-metre contours.
Right. Okay. So you're holding off until you get the 5-metre ones.
I've asked him to hold back.
Right. Okay. So at some stage we'll be getting contours now. They'll be appearing on the map. We won't need to do anything there. So now we can change the name of the map. So this is Jack's Playground, for instance.
Where did you click there to get the map?
Where did I didn't see where you did that.
I'll just go OK. I clicked on the edit button here. I don't see next to Jack. Can you actually see my mouse, or is that?
No, can't see your mouse. That's the problem.
Okay. Over on the right, there's a white area with a whole lot of black writing in it.
If you've got multiple screens, drag the gallery off the shared screen, and if you haven't, just minimize the gallery, and then you can see the entire screen.
I don't know what the gallery is, Jeff.
I don't know what you mean.
The gallery is the pictures, the mugs gallery, I believe it's called. Which is particularly appropriate.
You mean the people who are looking at it rather than me?
That's
there's nothing
right.
I can do. Yeah. So can you see? You can't see my whole screen here. Is that what you're saying?
We can see the whole screen.
Right, you can.
And we
So
can see your mouse as well.
You can see the mouse.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, no, but I've just worked it out. But where you click for the map title is underneath my picture.
Right. Can you move your picture away there from?
No, that's your doing, I think.
No, I'm not.
No.
Anyway, no. Well, I think the answer's no. That's all right. I don't think I can do anything about that.
If you move your mouse to the top of the gallery, in other words, the pictures of people's faces,
Yep.
a toolbar appears, and you can either minimize the
Oh,
gallery,
okay. No, I got it. Got it. That's all right.
drag it to another
Yeah,
screen.
no, I've moved it. Okay, so that was why none of us saw what you did. But
Okay. Is everyone caught up, Ben?
yeah, I'm good. I'm actually doing this on another computer as you talk.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you can edit the name there. Very
Yep.
simple. You can put a date in there if you feel inclined.
Yep.
Make it tomorrow.
Yep.
Race instructions. That's probably not something which we will need to deal with. Basically, the clue instructions get put. That's just the title of the race instructions. Any clue descriptions you put in when you're entering the controls end up in those race instructions, and they're basically to make a ticket which you hand out separately with the control descriptions or whatever.
Oh, okay. Like at a bush event.
Yeah. So you can grab that and merge it onto your map later on if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they do. Yep.
But it's probably not much use to us. It says it's got 10-meter contours. That might need to. That'll be based on whatever contours we come up with. So, or you can basically, we now start to add controls. So we can zoom in a bit. So let's say we'll start the event in the car park up here. So we just do one left click with the mouse, and you choose that to be the start. There's no need to put a description in for the start finish.
Oh, start finish.
Yeah. That's where the number appears relative to the control circle. So just to keep it out of the way.
You can drag. Oh, you can drag that around. Okay.
You drag that around.
Yep.
So you can look on the map underneath and say, oh yeah, okay. Well, for car parks here, probably be good if the control number was down over there, out of the way somewhere.
Yep.
And we go okay. Now that's just it actually will put a triangle on the final map. This version is just for showing what's going on this working copy. Cup of tea here. Right. Then you can start putting in controls. So put one here. And we can make that control number 1. Control is the default. First control road and something like that. It doesn't really matter if you put anything in here or not. That's really only useful if you're going to print out a clue description ticket. Okay, there's control 1. I'll put one in the creek bend here. And also, he's got a sort of score event arrangement. So you can gain these numbers to use our standard scoring for Streeto. So you can go 20, 30, 40, and 50 to represent our normal row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. So that could be, you can use that for 1 to 5. You can use 30 for 6 to 10, and so on.
On that description, do you put down like street sign or lamppost or anything?
If you want to, Jack, it's really only useful if you're going to print out clue descriptions.
Okay.
Yes, if you're doing a Streeto and you want to use the clue description generated from this website to then merge onto your map later on, so that when you hand out the printed Streeto maps, you end up with that description as provided by this on that map, then you can do that, or you can just generate that later on as a post-processing step. So that one could be a a light pole there in the streets there, and so on and so on. Make that one a 5-pointer. Wish I could type properly. Now there are some other things we can put in here. The meeting now has unlimited minutes. Hooray!
Great. We may need them.
There's a couple things you can put in here which are which are things which are added onto this map which are not as part of the original OpenStreetMap data, and they might be a crossing point, and then you can change the angle of the crossing angle here. So let's make it vertical, and then see I put that there on the crossing. So I specifically mark that as a valid crossing point. This can also, obviously in Street-O, it can be used to mark a pedestrian crossing or something.
Yeah.
So if you want to cross Burwood Highway up here,
bridge or whatever,
you want to say that's the only valid place to cross Burwood Highway.
Yeah.
We can put.
Well, Jeff does that a bit in the summer with the scouts.
There you go. And then the only other thing you can put in here is a do not cross, which is basically a red cross. Now,
I hope it looks a bit better than the crossing point. They look the same. Or similar anyway. Without my glasses on.
And that's a cross. Basically, crosses mean don't go there. So if you've got a road, you don't go down.
I think it's pretty clear. I just did
one down that road.
Jack, there's normally a line of X's, and that makes it much clearer.
A line of X's, yeah, that's better.
Yeah, so you can do that. You can do that yourself,
like a fence line or something like that.
If you wanted to prevent people from running up High Street Road, which is on the northern part of the map there, you can put X's along the road to say you're not allowed to run there.
Okay, fair enough.
A bit like that, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you grab those, Bruce, and shift them somewhere else if you want to?
No. So he's the only thing you can grab now is the actual map. So you can move your boundary around, but you can't actually grab these controls. So if it's not in the right spot, you just go to the control, delete it.
Yep.
And add it again.
Yeah. What about an X though? If you put an X inadvertently in the wrong spot.
They're enumerated. Actually, that's a good point. Can you delete an X?
I tried the Control Z and it doesn't work.
No, I don't think you can delete an X. I think get them right.
Okay. Might be very sparing in using those.
Can you change the size of things or not? Or is it they fixed sizes?
Now, these basically scale. So what you're looking at here, the size, see how that the actual size doesn't change as you zoom in and out. So what we're looking at is a representation of it rather than an actual size. So the size is chosen automatically when he prints it out in the PDF file. It's nothing to do with the size.
Sorry, just found something, Bruce, about the crossings. There's a delete all X and crossing points up in the top left, under where it says portrait.
Oh yeah, okay. So you can delete.
So if you can delete them if you really mess it up, you can delete them all and start again.
Yep. So and then we can put a crossing point back again.
Yeah.
There we go. That's back again, and we don't want to go up here. Okay. So yeah, there is the ability to edit them if you need to edit a control, and that's basically all you can do. So it's really, really simple. So at this stage,
so you can't put text. Can't put text on the map like.
No.
Okay.
So basically, if you want to be compliant with the current Street-O, you have to post-process it. But it's a trade-off between simplicity and
okay.
And so if you even just want to put an ARDF logo on that, well, you can't.
Can't. Okay.
Okay,
You can,
so
yeah, you
basically,
can do that with a PDF editor.
yes, or some other mechanism. So you can save and get. You have to click this button now to save and get. Yeah, I didn't fill in the race instructions. That's fine. Save and create anyway.
Yep.
It's just blather. So what that has done is in your. I'll just drag this across in a moment. In your downloads folder, it's created 8:30 p.m. Yeah, that file there, and that's a PDF file. If we look at that,
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
so there's Jack's Playground. It's got a scale, a north arrow, which may not be strictly. That's actually grid north, I think, rather than magnetic north. So that's something to be aware of. And your controls. This is an ID. If you want to go and edit your map,
Edit the map
at some
again.
later
Okay.
stage, you put that ID in up over here and load it. And you can go back to the
Okay.
map
Yep.
to edit it.
Can you rename? Is it just the file name it's working with? Could you rename it to something sensible?
No, the ID it generates. So you have no control over it.
Yeah. But if you don't like
Oh
it,
yeah, no, if you can change the name of the PDF file.
just change. Yeah, it's not hidden away somewhere else that it cross checks it against a registry entry or something.
Okay, it's open in the PDF.
Oh
view.
yeah.
So, but yeah, certainly you can change it.
Yeah.
That's a PDF. There's a
Yep.
few other things we can do here as well, and I'll do all of them. So you can generate a JPEG, a JGW, which is a weld file. We'll come to that in a moment. The clues description, there's the clues.
Okay.
So then you can print the clue sheet.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Which I think generates a PDF file. It's brought up a print dialog. So you can print that to PDF to get your clue sheet. So I'll save that in the same area. Do I have downloads? I'll stuff it. I won't bother. Close that. We can also put out a KMZ and a KML file, and they are both for map run, and I'll come to that in a moment. And that's basically all you can do on there. So if you just want to run a standard Streeto, you can print out that map. So this is in the pseudo ISO standard mapping, but we could have generated a white Streeto map as well. So he doesn't have a grey background. White basically means out of bounds on his Streeto maps. So what I mean by that is if we go back here and look at the Streeto view and change it there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You get that.
Yeah, okay. So the only way you can mark an area out of bounds is use those X's, is that right? Lots of
Correct.
X's?
Yeah, it's very
Okay.
simple. But,
Bruce,
yep.
have you ever used Purple Pen?
No.
Purple Pen, Australian invention. It's a very, very simple tool. You could use this process to generate a PDF or a JPEG or whatever. And having used this process, you could then use Purple Pen. And Purple Pen is basically a poor man's Condes. It allows you to put it allows you to put everything else apart from the map. Everything else goes on the map. Hardened orienteers hate it with a vengeance because it's dumbed down the course setting process.
That's all you need for Streeto.
Yeah, well, it's got the ability to put start, finish controls. It automatically generates text and symbol descriptions if you want them. It even does things like relay course. It is, as I say, it's a poor man's Condes, and it operates on any form of bitmap, a PDF file. And I don't know, the only difference here is I don't think it generates the files from MapRun, but I'll check that.
However, that doesn't matter because you can generate them from here.
Yes.
And this is quite sufficient for MapRun.
Yes.
This has done everything we need for MapRun. We don't need all the other crap on the map for MapRun, so that's fine.
It knows the start and it knows where all the controls are, which is
and it knows the map. It's got this map in there as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I actually will come to that because that's an important thing to learn. So now we'll go and look at the files it's generated. So that was a PDF file. Now, if we wanted to bring this into, say, Open Orienteering Mapper or OCAD to add our other crap onto it, or to Condes, you can't use a PDF file for that. So you can use the JPEG file. Where is it? Where's the JPEG file? Maybe I didn't save it.
Saved as a JGW, whatever that is. I didn't save it as a JPEG.
That's a world file, Jack.
That's a world file, but
That's what
JPEG I needed as well.
Yeah.
I think it just didn't save it. I'll go back here. Okay, there's the JPEG. Now notice the size of it's 130 kilobytes. It's a low resolution JPEG. The reason Ollie put in this button here was really for uploading a JPEG file into RootGadget. So he wasn't looking at a high resolution map for using for the event. What you're actually looking at there is pretty much the same thing. It's probably a good enough resolution for mapping. However, there's another way we can get a high resolution JPEG with very little work. And that's because in the KMZ file, I have learnt that a KMZ file is in fact a KML file, one of these, put with zip put on it. So it's a zipped KML file makes a KMZ file.
Okay, yeah, the Z for zip. Yeah.
So the reason that MapRun takes one of each of these is more convention than file type. So the convention is that things which are small, like waypoints, control points, things like that, points of interest, which don't take up much space, you don't bother compressing them into a KMZ file. You just leave it as a raw KML file. But something which contains a map, you're better off compressing it, and hence why it's more a convention that the maps end up in the KMZ files and other things end up in the KML file. But that is actually just a compressed version of that. And what you can actually do is you can rename that to be a zip file.
Yeah.
And there
unzip it. Yeah.
And so what we've got in here is the KML file, which is the georeferencing information for the JPEG tiles in here. And this is a JPEG, but you'll notice it's 440 kilobytes rather than the size of the one which we had back here of the JPEG, which was 130. So there we've got a higher res version of the JPEG for free. So this one, however, doesn't have the controls on it, which may or may not be a good thing. Depends on what you want to do. If you're going to use Purple Pen, then this will be an ideal one to import into Purple Pen because it doesn't have the controls on it because you're going to put them on. Similarly with Condes. The reason the controls aren't on this is that the KML file back here, that one there, is combined with the KMZ file, which is now a zip file, in MapRun, and MapRun actually adds the controls itself based on the KML locations. So the controls are not on the maps which are submitted into MapRun. Does that make sense?
Interestingly, it still had the crossing on it.
Yeah, I get that.
That is part of the graphical information. It's nothing to do with the control. So it's quite
part of the
correct.
map.
It's part of
It's
the map
part
now.
of the map. It's not part of the course.
So the only reason it doesn't have the controls on it is that if you had the controls on it and MapRun is putting its own controls on top of it, you end up with two different size circles, one on the original map and one added by MapRun, and maybe the numbers in a different place. So you'd end up with basically a disaster. So basically, because MapRun is adding the controls itself based on the Kml file, you can't have them on the JPEG. However, that's an easy way to get a high-res JPEG, or you can feed the PDF file into something like GIMP, and I'll put into the chat where you can get GIMP, because you can get that for free. And that's basically a open source replacement for, and then you can up the resolution here a bit. So we can make it something like 10 pixels per millimeter. Import that. And there we have the map. And then we can simply export that. It's over here, so you can see what I'm doing as a JPEG. And we're going to have to rename that because we've already got a JPEG. And we'll put that into downloads, export it 100%. So get rid of GIMP, and what we've got in downloads is now jack.jpg, which is 1.5 meg. So it's a much better representation, a much better raster representation of the original PDF file. And that one does have the controls because we use the PDF file to create that. Also, you can use something like GIMP to put in your course instructions, merge in the clue description from which came out of OpenMap, put in an ARDF logo. It's just a null image manipulation program. Or if you want to use Microsoft Word, or if you happen to have a PDF editor, which Hamish was alluding to earlier, go ahead and use your PDF editor to do that sort of stuff. So there's all sorts of ways to skin the cat with this basic information. That's a JPEG file. Now the world file, that is basically the georeferencing information for the JPEG file, which is output by OpenMap. And you can use that to bring it into a OCAD or Open Orienteering mapper as a georeference template, and then you can use that to generate a map. The only reason I can think of wanting to do that is because you have a standard set of headings, north arrows, course directions, that sort of stuff, which you already have set up in OCAD, and you just want to apply them onto an existing background, rather than using some other way to put your course descriptions and stuff on. But I wasn't going to cover Open Orienteering Mapper in this particular forum, so we'll leave that for a later time. But yes, I have done that. Basically, you click on the JPEG in Open Orienteering Mapper, and you say, I want the georeferencing information from the world file, and it sees that file as long as it's got the same name in the same directory, and it will pull in the georeferencing information for you. So the map which you pull in from OpenMap will be georeferenced in OCAD or Open Orienteering Mapper. Okay, the Kml file is simply an XML file, and it gives the lat and long of each of the control locations. So if you go out and you want to use a GPS to more accurately measure the control placement than the control placement in the georeference map in Open Orienteering Map website. You can do that, and you can tweak these lat and longs manually if you wish, or Jeff has a program to do that. So it depends on what sort of accuracy you're looking for, but yeah, you can go out and actually physically georeference each control point if you wish. When I was setting the Deakin University Foxhor or sprint event, I didn't know quite where I was going to place the map, so I put the controls out roughly in Open Orienteering Map, and then when I was actually in the location where I thought I would put the control, I marked that in a GPS program, and then later I can, because there's only 5 points, I just manually put those lat longs in into the Kml file, and these control locations will be used by MapRun to put the controls on the map on your phone.
Good.
We've covered the KML, the KMZ, which is now called a zip. But what we'll do is we'll change that back to be a KMZ file.
Bruce, can you drop the KML into Google Earth just to demonstrate that?
I was going to drop it into MapRun, but yes, you can. Open with, and I think we could probably choose Google Earth.
I'll just click on it.
Yep, I'm bringing it up. And there's our control points there. So it's put them as little waypoints. So they're not control circles on Google Maps, of course. But if you put that same file into MapRun, you end up with control circles.
Yep, all good.
We can also show you the KMZ file, similarly in Google Earth, because Google Earth knows both formats. And there's our map, Jack's Playground, overlaid on the actual.
Oh, and this is actually what you see when you do MapRun. If you get near the edge of the map, you see.
MapRun includes a bit of Google Earth.
Yes.
It. And you can't actually turn it off. You can turn off this map, you can't turn off the Google Earth bit, which is a bit weird. So notice again.
I think there was one early on that was something went wrong with, and I noticed some of the controls I went to were on the Google Earth bit.
Right. Outside, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean I was in the right place, but I was off the edge of the map. I don't quite know how that all came about, but probably a scale or size setting or something. It didn't stop it working.
Yeah. As I said before, there's no controls on here because the KMZ file for MapRun doesn't include the controls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that basically concludes the section on generating MapRun for Streeto. I can show you next time how to take one of those to make it into Open Orienteering Mapper, and maybe just put the use a template to put the standard Streeto stuff on an Open Orienteering map. But if you're actually going to use this as a basis for generating a new map, so you wanted to say put more detail, or much more detail into the creek area of Jack's into here, unless you're willing to put all that information into OpenStreetMap, which might not be welcome because basically OpenStreetMap is basically a street mapping program. Unless you want to put all that detail into OpenStreetMap yourself, a better starting point is to use Peter Dalwood's mechanism for importing OpenStreetMap directly into Open Orienteering Mapper. And then you end up with roads which are not just graphical objects on a template, but they're actually roads in Open Orienteering Mapper. So it depends what you want to do. If you want to use this as a basis to start off a map, which is a very valid way to do it, I would use the OpenStreetMap directly into Open Orienteering Mapper and work on that data directly rather than bringing in a template from Open Orienteering Map. So really the only reason I can think of bringing Open Orienteering Map into OCAD or Open Orienteering Mapper is just because you want to drag standard logos and course descriptions onto the map, as you can see here. Now, if those are interested, I can cover how you can set an ARDF event using Open Orienteering Map, which is basically what I've done for Burwood. So it's a idea in progress, and we'll have to see how it works when people actually give it a go. But that's actually live now, so every day from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, grab your 2 meter stiffer and give it a go.
Okay, what's the best way to get the map?
Currently it's on Facebook.
Well, I didn't sort of see how that got me a nice printed map.
Well, it gives you a JPEG.
Well, I just do a screen capture or something.
No, it's sorry. You can in
Bruce, I can put up a link to a PDF for you.
Okay, it's actually a JPEG. But if
well, no, you just want a map of. Don't you want a map of Gardener's Creek with a triangle on it?
Yeah,
that's it. Okay,
yeah,
and it'll take me about 5 minutes. I'll do it now.
If we just go to Vic ARDF.
It was top of the list. No, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Blimey, why did that appear there? I didn't see that. I'll have a look.
So you can click on that and you can save that, save image as.
Yeah.
There's a JPEG.
Yeah, but it's sort of like, like getting the scale right and things is going to be a matter of luck.
True. But I'm only giving you a JPEG anyway, so it's not scaled. So even the original one is not a PDF; it's a scale. It's a JPEG. So if you want to use,
I just think I'd roughly like it to be 10,000, just so I've got a feel.
No,
it's meant to be 45.
It's too small. You want it to be, Bruce. You want it to be about 1 in 5,000. I'll pop a map up in a few minutes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
So yeah, as you can see, I just hand drew the triangle.
Oh yeah,
you're welcome to use that one. There is no scaling at the moment. It's basically just to give you an idea of what's in the area. Certainly, there's no controls in this area here.
Yeah. Nor and you said not in the residential bit.
There's none over here either.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get pissed if you go in there.
Yeah. Hey Bruce, just a quick question. How do you separately put in the triangle and the circle finish? Like it says start and finish. How do you do it if they're separate start and separate finish?
On Open Orienteering Map you cannot. However, in the Kml file, if you edit the Kml file, you can actually separate out the start and the finish if you wish. I don't think MapRun will handle a start and finish in a different location. So it might be able to, I'm not sure. Do you know that, Jeff? I think most MapRun is mainly designed for start and finish in the same location. Most Streeto maps are designed for that way. I'm not sure if we can use MapRun if the start and the finish aren't at the same spot.
No.
I've never seen them separate spots.
Yeah.
What, the start and the finish, Ewan? The start and the finish are usually 50 meters apart.
Oh, that's true. They are. Yeah, you're right.
Because remember, you stand under a light pole and then they say start. And if you inadvertently run back past the start again, the finish is usually within 50 meters of the start. So I think that happened to you, didn't it, Mark?
Yeah. Well, they were in this. I think they were in the same place. I parked and I sort of got out of the car door and it started. So I was obviously parked in the start. And then I was coming back along that street. I thought I'll run along the other side of the street to stay away, but I was still obviously in the area. I think that particular event had fairly big tolerance set.
So you can actually set that in your map. If you do that before you hit start, if you go into settings, you can change the tolerance. And as long as
I thought all those things were like they're there, but I thought you couldn't change any of them. Like you can't make the route visible, and you can't make like there's things there, but they don't seem to work.
If they've got a little padlock on them, you can't change them.
Yeah,
but I think the resolution is something which I've been able to change.
Yeah.
So if you set the resolution fine, make sure you set it coarse again before you do a normal map run of it. I've just put in the chat another link to Ollie's presentation to the British Orienteers. So it's a much more detailed open orienteering map presentation, which is this one here. So there's a link to that.
Can you put in a link to the Facebook one? Because I keep bringing it up and I can't find that map in there. The last posting on Facebook was 2019, somewhere there.
Really?
My Zoom chat doesn't actually have any of these new ones. It's only ever had one on them. I've got two
Jack,
questions.
does that work?
Did you post it into the group chat?
The chat, yeah, right down the bottom.
Oh.
Facebook.com.
News Streeto. No, that's nothing to do with that. No, I've only got the hang on. Well, I've got facebook.com
It's Jeff Hudson. Oops, hang on. I've got to to everyone.
I got facebook.com.
No, my fault.
But ARDF VK3, what have you got? Vic ARDF. Oh, there's two Facebook pages, that's why.
It's Vic ARDF, yeah.
I've got ARDF.VK3. That's why I can't find it. Okay, so it's Vic ARDF on Facebook. So I'll just change that. Yeah, that's why I can't find it.
It's right up the top.
Yeah, for some reason it set it to Jeff Hudson. Oh, because I replied to Jeff. Okay, that's what's happened.
Com groups Vic ARDF.com.
It's now on the chat.
I've got two questions. After you've set it up in OpenMapper, can you move the boundaries and change the scale after you put controls down?
Yes.
And secondly, how much is the sort of bleed-in area of the edge of the A4 sheet of paper?
You mean how big is this white area?
Yes. So the A4 shape is that, and the white area is actually, because most printers can't print all the way to the edges. So the white is basically when you print it, it'll get left off.
That's basically your PDF file. So you've got a bit of surround around here, a bit of white around here, which doesn't include the map.
I think there's a fairly standard amount of bleed on it by the look.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't, because I wasn't sure whether the map went right to the edge of the what was an A4 page, which you, depending on your printer, may or may not be able to do. But if you got that boundary, it's good.
Yeah, okay. Most can't.
So you can take this and you can make it into a landscape and move it. Obviously, won't include the start again.
Yeah.
And change the scale. There's a much bigger thing now. So there's a standard Streeto map. We've only done tiny little thing.
So you could run an event with a sort of wide area thing on this one side of the page, and then print it in a zoomed in section if it was a high resolution area.
Notice if you move this off here, the control ends up orphaned outside.
Yeah.
You can't actually put a control out there.
But you can cheat and move the map around. Yeah.
And you can even go A3. So. All right. There's another thing to show you here. And I'll put that on the chat as well. If you wanted to check your map run KML and KMZs, there's a facility here called Check Sites in MapRun, which allows you to upload your KML and KMZ, and that's on this Check Sites page here. And into that, you can just put a name, which just has to be unique, how long you want it to last, your name and email, and then you can upload the KMZ and or KML. And then it'll give you a 6-letter code. And then on MapRun, you do basically what I've told you to do for the Deakin event until it appears as a real MapRun event. You enter in that code, and you can do a MapRun event and check out your controls and whether they buzz and all that sort of thing in the right spot. So anyone can do this with check sites.
I just put up a link. There must be 2 Facebook pages for the ARDF group because.
Yeah, I'm looking. That's the other one. So there's Victorian ARDF, and yeah.
Well, I've already put it's in the chat. The link to our one, Jack.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh yeah, I've got that. I'm printing the map out now, but I couldn't understand why there was 2 Facebook pages. That's all.
Yeah. Well, this one looks like it's for Christmas parties
and other stuff as well. Yeah.
But sorry, it seems to be just like events listed: Christmas party, fox hunt, relays, presentations.
Is one a page and one a group?
Yeah. I think that's right.
I think we did have
Victorian ARDF is a page,
yeah,
and the one you're on is a group. Yeah,
is a group. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Yes. There was some reason we changed from one to the other. Not sure which one we're meant to use.
Oh, fair enough. I don't know. It was just confusing. That's all. And I'm looking. I couldn't find it. He said, "No, it's there. Look up the top." You know, what the hell? Anyway, I've got my map.
Go through.
Tiny. The map's tiny. Hang on. Oh.
All right. So the only other thing I can cover for.
Holy moly. Okay.
So I'll just indicate. Here's one I prepared earlier.
The image. I'll just copy it and then I'll print it again.
So I generated a KNZ file for the Deakin 2-meter sprint event, which is live. If we look in that, that's actually a unzipped version of that KNZ file. We have a tile, but what I've done is I've edited that JPEG. And here is the area where the start triangle lives, just down here.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is where all your controls live. And that's an attempt to be the same purple as the controls when they appear on MapRun. So when you bring this up on your phone, you should only see the start triangle.
Yeah.
All right.
However, it's not perfect because I haven't quite got the purple correct, but
no, I got it. Yeah.
So basically, that's what you do. You take the JPEG tile, which comes out of Open Orienteering Map. You unzip it, you edit the JPEG file, you purplize it to cover up most of the map, and put it back in, zip it up again, and then submit it to MapRun.
Yep. Okay.
Have other people been shown how MapRun actually works? Because I know very little about it.
Okay, give the check sites a go, Hamish. So I'd suggest creating a map of your area and generate a KML and KMZ using Open Orienteering Map website. So do a full 20 control thing. Put controls wherever you like. They can all just be around the block if you just want to test it. Then use this check sites utility and the check sites page to upload the KML and KMZ and use that to run on your phone. So basically, on your phone, you go into, I'll show you
Start triangle. Right.
back here. There's a, how's that working?
Whoa.
The connection's dropped.
Yep. So
Yeah,
you can bring up
broken
a menu there, and just down the bottom, I'll hit it, is what's called check sites. And that allows you to enter in your PIN, which was given to you by the check sites webpage.
Oh, okay.
And once you've done that, the event you get, you can see that it's got Deacon 2 meter sprint there as my selected event. So even though that's not in the standard select event options, it's come in by check sites. And so that is now the event which you can run. The Deacon 2 meter sprint has been submitted to Warwick, and he's going to put it up as a standard map run event. So the check sites thing is just temporary until he does that.
Yeah, well, I can't do it till at least Saturday, so I'm kind of hoping it'll be up on map run by then.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter too much. The only disadvantage of the check sites is it doesn't record your results on the map run website.
Well, yeah.
But it does retain them on the phone. So I was actually able to look at my plot for when I was putting out the controls to make sure that all the controls are in the right spot.
I'm planning to do it tomorrow afternoon, but I've got to be home by 5 o'clock for Morse code. So I better run quick.
I don't think it'll take you longer than, look, I walked it in 35 minutes putting out the controls.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, but you knew where they were.
Yeah.
True. But I was walking.
It's only open for 2 hours, Jack. Maybe you could do it over 2 days.
Over 2
Yeah,
days.
back again.
I do have a big map now. The first one I printed was only about, I don't know, 50 mil by 50 mil on this page, but now I just copied the image. It's much better now.
I've posted a file to the Facebook page.
I've got a big map now. Where are we? Yeah, I've got a big map now.
Yeah, cool.
So, okay, so that's on Victorian ARDF group.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah, I can see it. It's come up there.
Is that what you want?
Oh, yeah.
Hang on, where did you post it, Jeff?
It's I've just uploaded a file to Victorian ARDF group. It's just.
Yeah, okay, it's under the
Oh,
file.
okay. Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, it's got the start. You've actually cut out all the out of bounds areas as well, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I see it.
All fine.
Okay, it might be just in a little, one of the controls might be in a little bit of that pink.
Okay. Hey, Bruce, I'll
Just on the edge.
chat with you later. We'll fix it if necessary.
Okay, yeah, I can grab that whenever I need. Yeah. Okay, now I just had one little question. This might even be spurious, but now going back to what we did with Open Orienteering Map. Now, let's say I just want to set a street event, so I was happy with the detail from there. It looks like for streets and a lot of the stuff would be just fine, but it will come up with something that doesn't match what we do for Streeto, in that the out of bounds is white and not grey. So this means I'm going to be having the wrath of the committee by handing out a map like that.
It actually makes more sense for night running, I think.
And it actually saves printer toner.
And it saves a shitload of toner. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, Mark, is if there's something wrong, or there's a laneway which isn't on your map, or something on the original Streeto map which isn't on the Open Orienteering Map, basically one of Ollie's driving forces behind generating a site was he wanted people to update the Open Street Map data. So he wants
like the main, like OSM.
Yes,
like,
he wants people updating the OSM data rather than all individually working on the individual orienteering maps.
Yeah, yeah.
So it makes it globally available. So basically, if you
if you want a
to do
lane,
something on the core of a map rather than something just for a particular event, it's something which is global. He encourages you to go in and actually edit.
So I should sign up for openstreetmap.org and edit
Correct.
there.
I did.
Yeah.
I went into
and then a
there.
day later, it will appear on Open Orienteering Map.
It's
Okay.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
The editing facilities compared to OCAD, the editing facilities are very, very basic. But I think
compared to you, OCAD, I don't take OCAD as a standard for anything. I think it's the most stupid thing I've ever used.
Oh well.
I can't work out how to do things in OCAD. Took me an hour to draw a north arrow one time.
Lots of old people struggle with such things.
But I've used other drawing programs without any problem at all. When we did the maps in Coral Draw, we were using that. We actually had that at work as well. It was just so easy and intuitive.
I hate it. I was a Corel person. I hated OCAD with a vengeance when I first started. And now, honestly, once you get used to it, it doesn't get much easier than what we've got.